Should Ezio show up in Assassin's Creed Shadows? No, because he's dead. But let's be honest, with this series, I wouldn't put it past them. Oh, and on that note, fair warning, this video will have major spoilers for other Assassin's Creed games and media. There are plenty of characters who could show up in Shadows in different ways, some even in person. Personally, I'd love to see them woven into the story in clever and mysterious ways, something we have to piece together rather than just a blatant punch to the nostalgia gland. After all, Assassin's Creed is at its best when we're solving a mystery, connecting clues, and forming conclusions. Sure, some characters appearing more obviously would be fine, but I just hope it's done tastefully and actually serves a purpose. Let me know down in the comment section who you would want to see in Assassin's Creed Shadows, and come back here after launch to tell me how wrong I really was. Alright, let's get into it. Let's start with the most likely candidate. I think it's almost a given that Cassandra will show up in Shadows at some point. If you don't know, Cassandra is in possession of an Isu staff that makes her immortal. Yeah, I'm not trying to pronounce that again. So even though she was born in 458 BCE, she is still alive during Shadows. She doesn't die until she fulfills her task and delivers the staff to Layla in 2018. I would hope she doesn't turn up in the main game, but in a DLC would be more appropriate. I would personally like it if they left her out for a few more games so that when she does turn up, it's a surprise and a bit more unique rather than something we expect, or aren't even remotely surprised when it happens. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Or was it absinthe? There are a few points of data that point towards her being in Shadows, but more specifically, the Claws of Awaji expansion. What? I really can't say that. Claws of Awaji expansion. Yeah, I probably still said that wrong. Firstly, Ubisoft Quebec is the main studio who are making AC Shadows, and they are the same studio that made Odyssey. So obviously, they want to bring back a character of theirs if they can. Cassandra was brought back in AC Valhalla, a game primarily made by Ubisoft Montreal. So if that can happen, it's probably more of a given here. She did not appear in Mirage, but that was just a small game that was originally a DLC. However, the one thing counting against it is that the studio that made Mirage, Bordeaux, is heading the development on the DLC. However, there's one large piece of evidence appropriately hiding in plain sight, and that is on the Ubisoft page for the DLC. In the background is an image of Darius' hidden blade from the DLC of AC Odyssey, where Cassandra meets the first known user of the hidden blade. Her son is taken to Egypt and is an ancestor of Aya from Origins. Somehow, Aya gets the hidden blade from Cleopatra. I'm fuzzy on the details of all of that. However, no one from those two games could be alive now other than Cassandra, so this has to be a hint at Cassandra being in the DLC. If it's not, we're being sufficiently trolled. Although, thinking about it now, Cassandra does have a hidden blade in Valhalla, but it isn't Darius's, so now I'm even more confused. So as I rudely alluded to in the intro, our boy Ezio is no longer with us. Requiescat in pace. Probably said that wrong too. Ezio died in 1524, 55 years before Shadows. His impact on the Brotherhood and the world at large would still be felt. I think references to the Prophet would be in good taste, or specifically from the master assassin Ezio, maybe teachings or lessons from him in some kind of assassin book or something like that. I think it would be cool to have a mystery surrounding a quest and it doesn't explicitly say it's about Ezio, or even other people from the Ezio games, but it could infer information about them, and we could figure out who it's about by piecing together clues, or even mentions from Machiavelli. He did say he was going to write a book about Ezio after all. Maybe Ezio left behind some kind of memory, like the memory seals from Revelations. Honestly, I think that would be cool in the moment, but would cheapen it in the long run. As I said, I hope it's more subtle than that. I love Ezio, and I would gladly experience more of his life in a short spin-off game or something, but I don't think it's right for it to come up in Shadows like it did in Revelations. It would also cheapen the effect of Revelations if it just happened again. So should Ezio return in Shadows? Well, yes, in a way, but not in some brutish form. I hope it's cleverly done and with heart and soul. If you want more Assassin's Creed content, don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss any of my upcoming Shadows coverage. Thanks! So speaking of Ezio, one of his students, albeit briefly, Shao Jun would be about 74 years old if she was still alive when Shadow's story begins. It's possible she was still around and may show up in the game. I think her showing up would be very interesting, compared to Ezio, who we've already seen a lot of. Shao Jun is a character we haven't seen enough of, especially considering her impressive resume. After meeting Ezio, she returned to her homeland of China and took down the Templars there. She was then the only remaining assassin in China. She built the Brotherhood back up and recruited and trained many new assassins. One such assassin is Kotetsu, a Japanese man who grew up in China. Kotetsu's father's last words to Shao Jun were his wish for Kotetsu to see his homeland again. He was Shao's first apprentice and would go on to return to Japan and form the Brotherhood there. So obviously there's going to be a reference to the founder of the Japanese Brotherhood. At least I bloody hope so. I think this will be really awesome. There's some deep dives on lore going on here, but surely the devs know all this stuff. I'd be shocked if there isn't a mention of both Shao Jun and Kotetsu. It could be interesting to see Shao Jun in her old age, and to be fair, Kotetsu would be around 60 as well. So if they survived, it would be really cool to see them. I think it would be acceptable to me personally for them to be a bit heavier handed with these characters and have them actually in the game. I wouldn't mind that at all. It's not like we've seen or heard much about them. It wouldn't feel forced, and probably 90% of players would never have heard of them before. Either way, Kotetsu at the very least will be referred to in notes or in dialogue in some way. I'm hoping anyways, but yes, I would like to see them both in the game if possible. So some smaller mentions here to end off the video. Firstly, Hattori Hanzo is all but certain to show up in the game. He was in the Japanese Brotherhood during this time and was an actual historical character. I won't go into things he's known to have done in AC lore, as it may actually spoil parts of AC Shadows, and that's not cool. But he is an important figure and will almost certainly be present in the game. I found a tweet suggesting that it is confirmed he's in the game, but I couldn't verify their source. But if he's not in the game, then Ubisoft must have really been hit on the head as a child. And lastly, Alethea and other Isu. We haven't heard from Juno, Minerva or Jupiter for a while, so I'm wondering if they'll show up at all. And no, Valhalla's weird drugged out dream does not count. However, Alethea has definitely been seen as recently as Valhalla, where she used us, the player, to revive Basim. Now this is difficult to predict as the modern day is not really discussed much for Shadows. There's been conflicting information regarding it. Some people who went to the previews are saying there's a modern day segment at the very beginning of Shadows, and then all we've heard from the devs is that all of the modern day is now going to be in the Animus hub. So I really have no idea what's going on. And to that end, there's been no confirmation on whether Basim will be in this game at all. I hope he is, and in that case, it would make a lot of sense if Alethea was also in the game. Can you think of anyone who could show up in AC Shadows? Let me know down in the comment section. If you're still here, thanks for watching, and there's a Patreon down in the description if you want to support me further, just like Alex Applegate does. Thanks, Alex. And thank you everyone for watching. Sticks out.